your wife, has really got a hard on against me.
She really does, man.
And
but you're not the only one. She is a person who tends to be angry and hostile. She was impossible with you.
Right.
And another person that she absolutely
strangely
can't stand is my son Monty.
Strangely enough, even though your wife disagrees with me and doesn't like me, I completely understand her point of view. Whether it's to my benefit or not is beside the point.
She hates Monty too.
Monty she sees as, somebody who is not living life to his fullest.
She used to hate my other son, Tommy, but I think that's gone.
Well, I can't imagine anybody hating Tommy.
That's the way I felt about it.
I just don't understand that at all.
I thought, Joyce, you have really showed yourself to be a total bitch if you could hate him.
Did she ever give you an explanation?
Yeah, but I didn't feel it was an adequate explanation.
Well, I'd love to know what it is because it's just so shocking.
One time when he was visiting me in New York, Joyce was staying up here in this apartment with me, and Tommy was allowed to stay in her apartment downstairs, and he ran into an old friend who needed a place to stay, and he let him spend the night. And Joyce, I'll never forget how
irritated her that became.
I say irritated is just an understatement.
He let a stranger into her house.
And you know what happened as a result of that? She never lets anyone into her house again, and since then.
Wow.
I mean, in other words, not just a stranger, but she doesn't let anyone in her house anymore.
When I first met you with her, I think the day I met you, you invited me over for a dinner party.
Yeah, right.
And you guys had dinner parties, and Jamie was there, and everything was so great and lovely.
I know.
And
now those days are gone. Remember that time she was out of town on an earlier occasion, and I was staying down there, and you came in and brought me that video camera.
I heard that story. I was so saddened by that.
She was so furious that you had been in her apartment.
But she already disliked me by then.
Yeah, but this just made it 10 times worse.
Really?
10 times.
Well, just because I was there?
Just because it wasn't you she was mad at, it was me. She practically killed me because I let you into her space. And it wasn't anyone I let in to her space she would disapprove of. She doesn't let in, since that time when Tommy was staying there and had a friend stay overnight, she has not let anyone into her apartment except a couple of old girlfriends, And the fact that I let you in there, I tell you, she almost killed me.
Well, she really loves you, and I know that. And I know she just really wants the best for you, and she wants all your friends to be good influences on you.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding of that. And you know something? Whether we love each other or not as friends, you and I, maybe I'm not a good influence on you. And I can accept that too. But I'm sad because I know that, in a way, that filming this is in the end of an era in a certain way for me.
For you?
Well, sure. I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Well, because this will be Joyce's home and she won't want me here. Simple as that.
You mean if she moves out to go downstairs?
Well, yeah, right. So
she's refusing to.
Oh, I had no idea.
She's out now refusing to move. She says if she doesn't have her own apartment in New York, she won't really be an artist anymore.
Oh.
So that by asking her to move out of that apartment because it costs more than twice as much as this one, she
can't be an artist
She feels that I'm trying to destroy her career as an artist.
She can't be an artist upstate?
Right, can't be an artist. Well, I'm still thinking I've got to get out of here.
You might just lose your place here.
Right.
And let her keep her place.
Well, the problem
and you'll be full-time upstate.
The problem is that my place is on rent control. It only costs $800.
What do you mean rent control? Is it rent stabilized, you mean?
It's rent, well, they got, when they developed this building, Joe and Corrine got it. It's artist space, $1,800.
Right.
And it's downstairs in the same building, and it's no bigger and no better.
I hear you, boss.
So I told her, you really have to move out of there. And she says, you're trying to destroy my identity as an artist. And of course, that's a powerful position to take.
Well, how are you responding?
I'm responding by saying, okay, but what about $1,900 every month?
And her response is, that's okay, that's what I want.
You're trying to destroy my identity as an artist.
Has she been working as an artist lately?
What's that?
Has she been working as an artist?
Well, yes and no. That's the reason she's so worried about it, is that she hasn't actually been getting much work done the last couple of years as an artist. So she feels that if she... Anyway,
Hey, it's all understandable.
it's all part of the same anxiety. She thinks she has the anxiety that she might just end up being my wife, or my friend, rather than being...
A lot of people have to give up their dreams. I might have to give up my dream of being an editor
Yeah,
because the paradigm has shifted of what success is.
yeah.
Not everybody can be the quarterback.
Well, anyway, she wants to be the quarterback in her own life, in her own world, and that means she has to have that apartment.
Well,
Anyway, that's what it means to her. So I'm sitting here because frankly, Mike, I pay that rent. I don't pay all of it,
Well-
but I pay some of it. So I'm sitting here aching from the amount of rent I'm paying every month, and she refuses to move out.
you got married.
Yeah, and
That's the price you pay.
I know that's the price you pay. And anyway, so right now I'm just sitting on the situation, just waiting. I mean, I don't know what to do about it.
Well, it doesn't look like it's your decision. That's what I've just been told.
But still, I could move out of this apartment and have a kind of an understanding. I'm 21 years older than she is.
Sure.
And when I get to be 80 years old and in a wheelchair, she will be pushing the wheelchair.
Well, if she's the one you want pushing the wheelchair, then you've got a great setup.
Well,
I
hate to say it, but I actually like her.
I'm thrilled to hear that because you married her and you should be loving her.
I actually like her.
You love her.
And I like her, and I love her too. But I also think she's unbearable and a terrible bitch. But still, I like her.
Yeah.
And Bima keeps us together, like a child keeps parents together.
Well, I'm married to a younger woman as well.
I'm much younger.
How much younger?
Yeah.
17 years.
Wow, that's big.
So, my wife has also come to an understanding of similar qualities.
Yeah.
And she's also given up childbearing for me.
You mean she wants to bear children?
Absolutely.
Oh,
She would have a
wow.
child tomorrow if I said let's.
Are you checking up on the birth control?
No, I use this condom every time.
Oh, I mean, what if she suddenly says I'm pregnant? It wasn't my fault, Mike. Then you might have to just eat.
Well, I've told her that I come from a family with lots of schizophrenia. And, she's going to have to take the chance
Yeah.
of raising a schizophrenic child. I don't know if I could handle it. I'm just quite honest with her that
Yeah.
I grew up in a schizophrenic household. I don't know.
It's good that you made that point to her.
I don't know if I can continue that in my adulthood.
Right.
I kind of escaped it in my adulthood, and
Plus, you're getting to be really grown up now.
I'm a little old in the tooth to be starting
You're
having
getting a little
kids.
old, right.
So I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that.
You remember, it was years and years ago, you advised me to get a new couch because you said that this one was beginning to look greasy.
Yeah.
Well, it still looks greasy.
Yeah. And you know something? It's working for you. You don't even need a new couch.
I just use it now to put books
I was
on.
gonna say you don't even need it. You just need to cover it with a cloth.
I just use it to put books on.
You know how Joyce uses a heavy cloth. But I mean, if you have
What do you mean, heavy cloth?
like a white cloth.
Well, I don't know. I like this color.
I do too, and I'll tell you, since you have a dog,
Yeah?
it doesn't behoove you to buy anything new.
But I like this color because look at how this color blends with the book color and with the color of the artworks that are all around. Plus, Bima likes the couch.
That's what I mean. It's Bima's couch, really.
Yeah, it really is.
I think I told you that because you were entertaining here for some reason.
Maybe that was it. Yeah, maybe I was entertaining in those days.
And
I don't entertain really anymore,
right.
except basically you and Monty. That's about it.
Is that right?
Yeah,
A short list, or is that the short list?
that's the short list.
Well, you I didn't tell you this, but Monty called me since I last spoke with you, and he apologized,
He feels terrible about how rude he was.
and I accepted his apology, of course.
I'm glad.
And I adore Monty. I
felt
told
terrible. I feel guilty myself.
I know, Tom.
Or
I felt
ashamed
bad. I
because
felt
he's my
bad.
son,
I-
and he lambasted you like that.
I know you did, and you know something? I don't take anything like that personally. I know it's the liquor talking. I really do.
Yeah.
But I just know it doesn't serve anybody any purpose to stay, because it just could get worse.
Yeah.
And
Well, so what?
so
What are you
anyway,
leading up to?
I just said, Monty, I think you're such a great guy, and I really, really enjoy your company when you're sober,
Yeah.
and I hope you find some sobriety, because you were just wickedly drunk and you have no memory of it.
No memory at all.
So that's not the kind of drinking you really want to do, and you should go on the pill. And
he's on the pill now.
yeah, he wasn't against it. You see, we talked about it. Monty's always
Well, you know what?
he's always been so for the pill for you. You see, that I have a feeling that he knows too.
But you don't know what happened.
I know.
The reason why he finally accepted that he should be on the pill himself is because he almost got thrown out of his home over there at the Times Square building.
Oh no.
Well, let me tell you what happened. He was asleep, drunk, passed out, and it was that time of the month when the exterminator is supposed to come in and spray your apartment. And the exterminator knocked on the door, and Monty woke up in a really bad mood, and he cursed the man. And as when the man finished his work and was going downstairs to leave, he told the person at the desk that he felt he had been verbally abused by the man in apartment 1240. And he complained. And anyway, there was a possibility that Monty was going to get thrown out of the building. And he was really frightened.
Fuck
And
yeah.
that's why he started taking the pill.
Wow.
Because he finally was scared. The terms of that building are you're only allowed to live there for a year.
I thought it was 2, but okay.
Maybe it's 2, but anyway,
A finite number. That's right.
he's been in there for like maybe 6 months now.
Right.
And, he really almost got thrown out of that building. Can you believe it? Oh, I didn't tell you the rest of the story. So after the guy left and said that he had been abused verbally by one of the tenants,
Yeah.
the person at the desk called the police.
Holy smokes.
And the police came up and knocked on Monty's door.
That's-
He opened the door, and there were not 1, not 2, but 3 uniformed patrolmen standing outside his door. 3.
That is intense.
And
That'll shock you. A shock to the system.
exactly. So they said, okay, so let me tell you the rest of it. So then they said, sir, would you come out into the hall and, so we can speak to you? And as he was coming out, he was still half asleep. He stumbled over the entrance and fell. And he fell into the hallway, and he was bleeding. And the police took him to the hospital.
Oh my Lord!
Right.
Was he on alcohol at that moment?
Yes.
Okay.
And anyway, he knows that he came close to losing his home, and that's why he got frightened enough to start taking the pill.
And did you give him this prescription, or?
No, he got his own prescription.
Good, because I told him, he goes,
I know, you were right about that.
I've met Bill once or twice.
Well, anyway, Bill is 6 or 7 years older than I am, so he's like 76 or 77.
Right.
So he's a friend that I have that I can talk openly about death with.
Okay.
Because he's like 77.
Right. That makes complete sense.
He's aging and he knows it.
It's a
His memory is going.
He's a contemporary, right?
And he knows it. And anyway, age and die together, Bill and I.
Have you decided that? Is Bill a single man?
No, he's married, and his wife is a much younger woman again, named Dove. It's the American dove. That it's a pretty little bird.
The D-O-V-E name. Interesting.
It's not D-O-V. It's D-O-V-E.
That's what I said. Yes. Very true. So.
Anyway, here's the point I was.
You and Bill are.
We're right. As we're kind of age and die together. Right. The way I see it.
Does he live upstate at all?
No. And anyway,
it's nice to share a contemporary. Have a contemporary with yourself on the path of life. I agree. I think it's meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. And
somebody your own age, like that,
or even a bit
older,
senior.
That's right. Right, a mentor, so to speak. You've been a mentor to me. You see, like that.
Yeah, I know.
Of how to grow old and how to enjoy life and the simple pleasures. What are your simple pleasures? Well, maybe I'll try those simple pleasures. You see.
So anyway.
Right.
Anyway, here's the point I was leading up to was that Bill says that he absolutely does not believe in the afterlife. He once said, and this is like an intimate communication between people who are going to die together. He said, Tom, I think that, like me, when you die, if you wake up suddenly in some kind of afterlife, you're going to be really surprised. In other words, he says he just doesn't think there's going to be anything after the death of the body. He thinks that he's one of those people, like it started with the ancient Greek philosopher Democritus, said that the mind or the soul is just an offshoot of the chemical togetherness of the different things in the body, and when the body dies and the chemicals come apart, it just ceases to exist. It's not like it dies or anything. It never really existed to begin with. And anyway, Bill's always believed that, as I have also to some extent. So anyway, now we're dealing with this situation. Like I find that I'm looking toward living for another 10 or 20 years, and hopefully. And I think that just in case there is some kind of afterlife deal, or just in case there is the law of karma, in case either of those things happens to be true, I think that I should spend the last years of my life with different behavioral patterns. For example, I stopped drinking alcohol, I stopped eating meat. I feel that in order to be ready for either a last judgment or something like it, or a karmic dispensation or whatever, I feel that I should live a kind of pure life for my last 10 years or so.
It's lovely.
I never felt that before.
I think it'll make you live.
I always was happy to lead an impure life.
I think you'll live longer too.
Well, that's another thing.
You might live, better. You might not get a stroke, for example.
I hope I don't get a stroke.
You know what I mean?
No. Right.
Or hit by a car, what have you.
Oh, but you're really doing that Michael Tracy book. That's great.
Oh yeah.
I had the candle there because
it lights up really nicely, huh?
It lights up really nice.
Well, I'm going to skip that for the time being because it wasn't on with when you were in the picture.
Yeah.
What I really love is we can see a few of the words.
Yeah. Words that I wrote,
right,
and that the artist then hammered nails through, like he was crucifying me. It was like an insult.
In a certain way, but it's also like a total.
An embrace.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Not an embrace, but yeah. He's like he made you a collaborator,
right,
in his art. I mean, which is the highest compliment.
I've always felt that way about it. Although, usually when people see it, they think, "Oh boy, he really dissed you."
Yeah, it's because they're looking for negative. You're right. This is just his style.
I feel honored that he introduced me into his artwork in such an intimate way. Plus, like I told you and Niall, he's a nasty man. Mm-hmm. So it's to be expected. I'm not going to answer that. Why is that? Oh, we plugged it back in, right? You know what I'll find if I answer that?
Yeah.
I'll be hearing a Korean voice talking from Korea telling me that I owe a certain bill to some company or other.
Why don't you just pay that bill?
There are certain bills that I just don't pay.
I mean, is it principal?
I don't know what you mean. Is it principal?
Is it like you didn't feel you got good service and you're just not paying that bill?
What the fuck is going on? You want to answer?
No, I just don't care if the phone rings. It's not
bothering me.
bothering
Why is it going on so long?
Oh, maybe because there you go.
Plus, this little painting by Bernard Venet, I'm glad we focused on it. I absolutely love it.
Which one, Tom?
The little painting that you're looking at right now.
Okay.
I absolutely love that painting. Plus, you see the position I gave it. It's the only painting on that whole wall.
That's interesting.
It dominates that whole wall. I regard that as a position of honor. Like this painting dominates this wall.
Talk to me about this painting, Tom. Does it have a meaning?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, these are symbols of
Let me tell you the way I see it. I see it like I'm in a submarine, and I'm looking out one of those little windows, and this is the shit I see out there floating around in front of me. All of these symbols and formulas. In other words, what I'm saying is that we look through the air and we see ordinary life, but in fact, what is happening there is a lot of physical and chemical and philosophical formulas and you know what I'm saying? Like Bernard brought them out into the open. So the way I look at that really nice little painting is you see the gray frame around it all? You're looking through the gray frame into the reality of the universe, and that's the reality of the universe. All of these symbols and formulas and things. Yeah, and there's the spherical book. I didn't talk about those. Those are Mike Bidlow urinals.
Are those Mike Bidlow urinals?
Yeah.
I remember. Mike had his days. He's still working? I haven't heard his name mentioned in a while.
I haven't run into him in a year or two. He's like that, He just disappeared.
Does he continue to do homages?
I'm not sure, Mike.
I mean, I know that's how he kind of his claim to fame, but I mean, I don't really, I've really dropped out of the art world, so to speak. I think art became like just somebody I know.
Well, I've kind of dropped out of the art world too. I mean, since I retired.
But there was no disillusionment factor for you, was there, or anything like that? It's just been a natural.
Well,
like,
let me put it this way.
Please.
20, 30 years ago, when Maura and I were living across the street in Kincallaba House, every year in August, we would both get this feeling of kind of excited anticipation because we knew that the gallery's year was going to open about middle of September, and we were really interested to see what was in the galleries. Okay, did you follow me so far?
Yes, sir.
Now I don't care. Now I don't pay any attention to what's in
Is
the
it because the
gallery.
art's changed, or is it because you've changed?
Both. I am preparing to die, and I see that art is a little bit of a trivial matter that I've spent enough time with.
It's so funny because that's kind of how I feel about it too.
Now, I mean,
Even though I love some of the artists from the old days,
yeah, me too. I mean, think about James Lake.
it just feels very commodified right now for me.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at that stuff, all that stuff I wrote over there, most of it is about contemporary art.
Right.
And when I look at it now, I feel almost a little ashamed. Like, why did I waste so many years on this phenomenon called contemporary art, which is just a matter of galleries getting rich and making more and more money?
Well, it was a good paycheck.
Well, that's true. That's true. I supported myself as an offscouring of art.
And what did you have a nickname for Marv? What was that nickname again?
Weedle.
Weedle.
Yeah.
Weedle always quote unquote disapproved of you. A, because he couldn't get that job,
Yeah.
and B, because he thought you couldn't, quote, was like sold out for the money
Yeah.
because you did this shelf that we're filming.
Yeah.
But I always felt like, well, you're providing an amazing service because you've wrote for your generation. You've created documents for the most forward-thinking of all time, up until the moment.
Generation through their life in the world, like by explaining art to them in a way that they could.
Not just art, but some of the most dangerous and interesting. You've really, like these people are the people that have really stretched the boundaries of art and created anti-art for that matter.
Yeah.
And they would be less without you.
Absolutely.
So
I made them real. I justified them.
because you're a classicist, you're one of the few people as an art critic who can put things in proper perspective
Yeah.
historically.
And the funny thing is that these anti-art artists, when I meet them, they all accept and realize that completely. They like almost thank me for,
Of course.
for what I've written in the past that has. There you go. You're really showing my life there.
Well, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's an odd little group of sculptures that I've had there for many years. I won't necessarily go into it, but there it is. I've had it there for about 10 or 20
Oh my
years.
God! Aren't those Eric Orr's stickers?
Well, the stickers
The question, or is that James again?
Okay. Now you see these glasses?
Oh yeah.
Those are designed and made by Mark Kostabi. Those are officially artworks,
You were on his show? His
No, I
naming art show?
know. I always refuse to go on his show. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think that befits you.
I didn't think it did either. Anyway,
It's a clown show.
he asked me maybe 1,000 times.
Sorry to hear that.
You know, and I told him, well, I just don't really feel it's my thing, and then we went through a long period of our friendship where I was trying to convince him that that wasn't an insult.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Right. Well, you know something we didn't talk about, Tom? What is this art piece here? The black curtain.
but this is well, the black curtain is just a curtain I put up, but this is a bit that I picked up off of the ground in Thornton Dial's house, right outside his studio. There were a bunch of, there was stuff scattered around here and there, and I picked that up. It was something he threw away. But it's actually pretty great. Yeah, kind of a sharp-looking dude for like 1947, like the posture. There's a little bit of swagger in it, That's great.
I like the hat.
Yeah, the cigarette in the hand.
Looks like he's on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was usually on vacation. Anyway, that was his goal in life.
Tom, I never asked you this, but do you have brothers and sisters?
I have an elder sister.
And she lives in
She lives in Gainesville, Florida. And we're in touch. We're still friendly, and we're in touch with one another.
And
what?
where did you grow up?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, you did. You grew up right there near the university?
Well, in the same city.
I've spent some time.
Well, I was telling Bill Anastassi, that I kind of admire his complete sang-froid, in which he just simply doesn't take the idea of an afterlife or of karma, just doesn't take it seriously.
Oh, I don't either.
Well,
I'm identical to them.
well, I wish I was. But I find that
Did you grow up with any religion in your household?
I went to Catholic school when I was starting out, but I have found that since I entered, the fourth ashram, in the Hindu system, they divide life into these 4 periods. They call them the 4 ashrams, and the fourth ashram is when you get ready to die, and that's what I'm in. I've entered the fourth ashram, and well, anyway, like like for example, why did I quit drinking and quit eating meat? Only
I'll give you 2 reasons.
only after I entered the 4th ashram.
I'll give you 2 good reasons.
Yeah.
Joyce McEvilley has been on your case about meat and drink for the last 20 years.
Well, about drink, certainly.
No, and meat. I've heard her talk about meat to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's always wanted you to cut down on cholesterol. I don't know why, but I guess she feels that you might have a high cholesterol count.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do, but
I do. If I'm not, I'm heavily medicated for it.
oh, there you go.
But if when I'm not medicated, it's a shockingly high cholesterol count. It's
Right.
like 450.
Right, that is really, really high.
Really?
So, if I'm not mistaken, she's been very encouraging for that too.
Right.
So that's a good reason.
I know.
I don't necessarily think, see, that's the 4th ashram. Unless Joyce is the 4th ashram.
Yeah, right.
But
Maybe Joyce is the appurtenance of the 4th ashram.
you know, I'm pretty ignorant to how life kind of works. But I have a question to ask you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want. But I'm just curious. You know, like you get a pension from your school, Rice University,
Yeah.
and say you pass away tomorrow.
Yeah.
Does the pension just stop then?
Well, actually, you can set it up in different ways. And I set mine up so that a designated heir could continue to receive half of my pension benefits for some period of years. I don't remember the details. In other words, that's why I made Joyce legal.
Okay.
So she would be able to collect
Half the benefits.
half of my pension
That's very sweet.
for, I think, like, I don't know, it's pretty like 3 to 5 years or something, you know.
Yeah. That's real.
So in other words, it costs me more, but still it has that great.
You mean they don't pay you as much every year or every
right,
month?
Right.
And you said Tommy's coming to New York?
What's that?
You said your son Tommy is coming to New York?
Yeah, he'll be here pretty soon, like in maybe 3 weeks.
And where will he be staying?
He'll stay here.
Okay.
And
I mean, and between he and Joyce, I mean, she's civil to him, right?
right.
Right.
She's not civil to Monty, but she is civil to Tom.
Tommy's a sweetheart.
Yeah, and you see, the deal is that my 70th birthday is July 13th, and my grandson's 8th birthday is July 17th, Liam. So in other words, those dates kind of define a week. So anyway, he's coming here for that week. So it'll be like a family occasion, you know. We'll like
Spend the week together.
We'll try to make it a memorable birthday for Liam.
That's lovely.
For example, maybe we'll go to the Bronx Zoo. Or maybe we'll go to Jones Beach. Or maybe we'll do both of them.
You switch seats with me?
So you see, the thing is like, it'll be Liam, Monty, me, and Tommy. In other words, Liam will be among the men of his family. Isn't that great? Like,
Really
it'd be, I
cool.
think the first time you could ever say, okay, Liam, now you're among the men of your family.
The McEvilley's side of the men of on the McEvilley's side.
This is what you are. You're gonna grow up into this fold, and
And how old is Liam?
it'll be his 8th birthday.
So he'll be starting to be cognizant of all that.
Right. He's quite a bright boy.
Well, that's great to hear.
He's a sterling boy, quite a model. He's like very pretty physically and very athletic and very well behaved and honorable. He never lies. You know, Monty was saying that he just can't believe watching Liam grow up, because Liam is now 7 years old, about to become 8, and he still doesn't know how to lie. Monty said he thinks that he learned how to lie much younger than that.
Well, he had an older brother.
Well, that's true, but I also can.
Oh, so does
I
Liam.
also can bear witness that I learned how to lie by the time at least I was 5, maybe 4.
Yeah, I mean, you.
At least, but Liam is like 7, and he never lies. He doesn't see the simple fact that you can solve some problems by lying.
Well, that'd be very interesting if he continues on that fashion.
Yeah, really.
I'd like to make a documentary about it.
Yeah, right. So when Lorraine was pregnant with Liam, they had a doctor predict the birth date, you know. And this doctor said he thought he would be born around July 13th, which is my birthday. So they made a big deal about this, especially Monty did. I was a little bit embarrassed by it, but anyway, as it turned out, he was born on July 17th.
What would you be embarrassed about?
Well, I don't know. I just...
You just think the whole thing's like overkill of like trying to like make something out of that coincidence?
Right. A little overkill. But anyway, this year, Tommy's coming in for this birthday week, in which first I and then Liam will assume our new ages.
Well, that's really kind of cool. I hope you take some good photos. Have you noticed a change in Kirkcongson where you live, Tom? Meaning, is it becoming more gentrified or something? Cityfied by people?
Well,
I only ask because I hear people talking about it as a destination.
really?
And I was wondering if you noticed that.
Well, I guess it is beginning. It's on the beginning of the path to gentrification. I mean, for example, among my neighbors and the people I live among out there, most of them have lived there their whole lives. They grew up there.
Right.
So in that sense, it's like not gentrified.
Right.
But on the other hand, I noticed that these people that are my neighbors up there, they're not mean rednecks. They're pretty decent folk, you know. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, it is a little gentrified. You know what I mean? Like
I do.
Most of them haven't gone to college.
But they're middle class. It's middle class.
Yeah. Like my neighbor, there's a whole family in this house, you know?
Sure.
And grandparents, parents, and children. 3 generations living in this house. And in the winter, they don't heat the house. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's freaking intense.
They don't use the furnace.
You're freaking me out. I know.
This is actually the remnant of the iced coffee that I had when you arrived. It still looks good to me.
Cool. It was certainly good earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, did Joyce know, Eric?
Yes.
How long have you and Joyce been together now? I forgot to even ask you that.
Well, it's getting long. Like 14, 15 years.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, that's an interesting picture. That's Kent, me, Eric, and who else? I don't know. It was at Eric's wedding. Larry, tell us, is there another old friend? It was at Eric's wedding in Taos.
Did you preside over that wedding?
Yeah, I was the minister.
You were.
Now look, now wait a minute. Do this one next. This one.
I got it, by the way.
Same day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but then that's when we were in Egypt together.
It's getting very glary.
And the one on the right with James Lee with the red hat, that was also in Egypt. You know, the three of us went to Egypt together. It was a great thing. Eric had a bit of luck and said, I can pay for it. So he paid all the expenses, and the three of us spent like, I don't know, a couple of weeks in Egypt. Yeah, there you go. See, these are all extra copies of my own writings. If you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there you go. Those are great James Lee objects there.
Oh, you asked me about getting in touch with Weedle.
Yeah.
I would send something to his Westmoreland address.
Actually, what you gave me, you gave me Neva's address.
Oh, even better.
And I sent it to Neva.
That's a great
idea. She said that she sent it on to Mark.
She emailed you or wrote you.
She emailed me.
It's fantastic.
Now, while you're at it, you might want to just peek in here. See, in the kitchen cupboard.
What are we looking at here?
Well, it's just like more shelves, more bookshelves, as it were, you know.
Oh my God, Steve Magnus. We haven't even mentioned him.
There's a lot about him in there. Right.
Tom.
Look
this-
at all those tapes. Wow, can you believe it?
Well, because I was probably living with you or living near you during a lot of this time.
I think with me and near me.
Cassette tape time.
Yeah.
And I remember this Magnus stuff.
You remember when we got Magnus ready for his date with Ann McCoy?
That was so amazing.
You grabbed his head. You got him in a headlock. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You went like this. You got his head, so I could tie his tie. Because he wasn't letting me tie his tie. So you just took him by the head, and I tied the tie. And he was like kind of whimpering, like a baby who's being abused.
You had a lot of his artwork too.
Yeah.
Where did you meet him?
You know, this is a thing we should do sometime on another.
It's like I know. You know what it is, Tom?
Because, you know, for example, what you don't know is that Steve was the author of 3 or 4 rather brilliant books of fiction, novels.
Magnus.
Yeah.
And
sorry. I have them all. None of them was ever published. And as a matter of fact, they caused him to be rejected by the world even more. But I have them all. I encouraged him in them.
As you should have.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant man.
Yeah, really.
You remember my friend Lisa?
I do.
Lisa loved him.
I remember you and Lisa listening to Steve, and he asked you, for some reason, he asked you, what movie star do you think I look like? And you said Ed Begley Jr. And he was insulted.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But
in today's world, I would have known better. But like at my age, I would have known better.
Right. It wasn't that big a deal.
No, but I should have said Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's what he wanted.
Yeah, why not give him Paul Newman? What's the big deal?
You know, he told me at that point in his life, when he was living in the halfway house, you know, like for all those decades, he said that he would take all his clothes off and stand in front of the full-length mirror in the door of the closet of his room, and he'd look at himself, and he would think, God, I'm beautiful. Wow, look how beautiful I am. And he would just look at himself. Isn't that great?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
He's a legend in his own mind, so to speak.
He really is.
He was somebody you knew for. You were so good to him.
I met him when we were both about 18.
You were so good to him, you know?
I know.
I mean, he was part of your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
He really was.
Yeah.
I mean, did you always keep in touch with him when you were growing, like when you were in Texas and stuff too?
Yes.
You guys had an amazing correspondence.
I
like
had
he
him-
must have
I
written
had
you
him-
5 letters a week.
I paid his airfare to come to Texas to visit me more
You're-
than once.
And you visited him in Chicago more than once, many a time.
Many times. Right.
So cool. Yeah. That was is something.
Well, Mike, I'm glad you got all this footage, and
Bear with me. No, I just have to shoot some wide shots right now, actually.
we can share this iced coffee.
Yeah, it's perfect. Just wanted something to take the parchness away.
Yeah. Maybe where are you going? You want to go out for a walk? Beam? He's already had his dinner. He knows he doesn't have much else to look forward to today. But maybe a walk. And then after the walk, I could give you a shoe. Would you like that, huh? And little beads. don't know, Mike. Somewhere I got the idea that you grew up in Hamilton, Ohio.
Well, you know, I didn't.
You didn't?
I went to Ohio because Dick Malott took me in as a foster kid.
Where were you before you went to Dick's house?
Well, I was 15 when I went to Dick's house.
Oh, really?
So I met Dick. Was my
Where had you lived for your first 14
Dick was my 9th grade English teacher.
Wow.
And he took me in as a foster child, and I was living in a boys' home at the time.
Where?
In the Valley.
The Valley of California?
Yeah, in San Fernando Valley. And I'd been living there for close to 2 years. And there was 200 boys in this home. And we lived in 4 different cabins. So we kind of
50 to a cabin.
Pretty much.
Wow.
And then within that cabin there was 2 different rooms, and when they would split that into 25 each. So there would be 25 people in a room. Right.
Wow.
And the beds would just be lined up, 25 beds, and it would be like a privilege, and you would work towards getting to the corner of the room because you would have slightly more wall space.
Right.
And that was very coveted. Nonetheless,
wow.
A lot of us went to public school, and they had a school bus that would drop us off at the different junior highs. There were high schools and junior high schools, and they separated us. They didn't want lots of kids going from the boys' home to go to one school. Just because we ganged up. We took care of each other. Nonetheless, I met Dick. I said to him, do you know...
He was teaching in the Valley?
He was teaching in the Valley and living in Silver Lake.
Oh.
In that same old place on Edgewater Terrace.
Oh.
So he's been teaching at this junior high school in the Valley for 20 years.
Wow.
Maybe he taught there for 35 years before he went to Van Nuys High. Did another 10, 15 years and, retired.
Wow.
Nonetheless, I said, Tom, Dick, do you know any, Mr. Malott, do you know any foster homes in the neighborhood? As a teacher, you must have run into other foster parents, and could you introduce me to them? And he did introduce me to a few. And they had their reasons for not wanting me in their home. One had a teenage daughter my age. One was just getting out of the business, so to speak. And
Maybe no. In a minute, honey.
And Dick said, well, I'll take you in. You want to come and live with me? I got an extra room.
Wow.
I said, well, I'll come over for the weekend. I'll try.
He was like in his 30s at the time.
I think he's probably 37, right? 38 is my guess. Maybe older. I don't know. 70. It was in 1970.
So he said, come up for the weekend and give it a try?
Yeah, 1976. So I because he was a school teacher, he had good credentials in life,
Sure, sure.
They let him do it. The boys' home let him do it. I let him do it. He took me in. Eventually, I stayed there like 3 weekends in a row. He goes, well, what do you think? You want to stay here? I said, sure. And it was the greatest thing I ever did because he kind of connected me up into the world, so to speak. He hooked me up to the world. I mean, I would have never met you.
Not a bad connection into the
I would have never met you. Right.
Right.
We always
you
said
would
that
never have met me.
We
you would never have met Weedle.
Never. And we always said that Dick was part of the Ohio Mafia.
Right.
And the Ohio Mafia in California is a really cool crew.
Oh, really?
I thought so. I liked the crew. I think Neva, and at that time.
Yeah?
Personally,
but that was the Hamilton, Ohio Mafia, not the Ohio Mafia.
no, I'm sure.
It was Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
This was always something that Neva and I disagreed about.
Well, not that it was really that important. I mean, they're chasing Hollywood dreams over there.
I know.
But, Dick introduced me to his friends and taught me how to read, really, and got me into college, got me into UCSB.
Great.
I met Eric Orr at UCSB. I met Maura at UCSB. for that matter.
What more can you have done, really?
I went to Italy from UCSB, stayed there a year.
Yeah?
Moved to New York because of Dick Malott, because he paid for me to come to New York for 2 summers during high school.
Did he?
I had this New York thing from early on. And he must have slid me $500 to get me to, like to stay at the Y. I stayed at the Y both times.
You say the what?
Yeah. So he must have...
Magnus went through a period of his life staying at the Y.
Sure.
And he said he had this experience. He was out in the hall at the water fountain to get a drink of water, and another young man about his own age approached him and started up a conversation, and then they ended up going into Steve's room together to sit and talk. And anyway, Steve was pretty innocent at this age, but the other guy was like, he knew what he was doing. And before long, he had this story, and he said that he was looking down at the guy sucking his dick. He was looking down, and he said, "Oh, I don't see how you can do that. I would never do that." And then, they separated and were talking conversationally, and then the young man who had said, "Well, I guess it's just, or maybe it's just the lateness of the hour." And then, and then Steve said that he acted like somehow that meant something, like somehow that explained it. But and they said, "Okay, good night," and then the guy went back to his room. That was the YMCA.
Yeah, there was some of that going on, probably.
Sure.
I didn't see that.
No.
Thank God. Somebody did die in front of it, like got killed, but I was asleep at the time. Yeah, it was on 34th Street. I stayed at both. There was one on 34th Street called Sloan House.
Really?
Sloan House is my house, was the slogan. And the other one was near 47th, near the UN.
No shit.
So you get a lot of international travelers from that one.
What age were you at when you lived in those dwellings?
16, 17.
Oh, wow.
I would come here for the summer, just hang out. Go to Mud Club, go to clubs. I had friends from LA who had friends in New York, and I would just roam the streets. I just liked being here.
Me too.
Strangely enough.
Yeah. At that age, I felt the same way about it. Just roam the streets.
Yeah.